A few years ago, amidst the political landscape of jealous Breaking Bad edits and rampant misogyny, I decided that I wanted to play some old Pokemon. Initially, I was just going to replay Sapphire since it's the game I grew up with, but I remembered that we live in the 21st century, where immediate access to anything within seconds of each other is totally normal and not at all a problem. So I decided to appeal to my inner child even more by playing a Pokemon game I never got. And true to the character of a child, I still wasn't satisfied after getting what I wanted for free, which is why now, 3 years later, I own a modded lime green new 3DS XL that I had to sacrifice the soul of a child and cough up the price of an average couch for. Despite owning Platinum and Emerald, I never got around to Black and White 2 since I took a single glance at it and said, it's just the same as Black and White, which, I mean, on a very surface level, I can kind of see how the same region again and no new Pokemon could feel kind of lazy to some. But after my initial playthrough, Black and White 2 have cemented themselves as my absolute favorite Pokemon games. Black and White 2 somehow took the already amazing foundation the first games laid and pushed them even further by adding in so many small moments that make you say, wow, they didn't have to do that, but they still did, that by the end of your playthrough you'll have ended up with a new vocal stim. And that's really what I want to get into today. All of the amazing small nuances and details that make Pokemon Black and White 2 the absolute pinnacle of 2D Pokemon, and genuinely one of my favorite gaming experiences. Now to start off, at the beginning of the game, you get a different cutscene depending on what season it is, with there being snowflakes or petals flowing in the breeze. And obviously the routes also all change depending on the season, which is just gorgeous to look at no matter what season it is. But this goes beyond just visual changes, because not only does the duration of the day change depending on the season, but N has a different weather team that you can battle once a month depending on the season. New areas become available, old ones change in how you traverse them, such as Castelia City sewers, the Moor of Icarus, and Route 20. And on top of all of that, a lot of the routes have different music depending on the season. And I know this was already the case in the first games, but genuinely my favorite example of this is Undella Town, which is the only city that has a different theme depending on the season, or it has a less lively and relaxing theme in every season other than summer, because the fucking snowbirds left and aren't driving their cars 4 miles per hour on the road. And as great as all these things are, I'm aware that obviously it'd be really annoying if there was significant items in Pokemon blocked behind different seasons. Like, this isn't fucking Animal Crossing. So most of the differences between seasons are small details. Like, the only really notable examples of Pokemon changing with seasons is Deerling and Sawsbuck, which is not only an entirely visual difference, no stat or type differences, but also realistically, who gives a fuck about Deerling or Sawsbuck? But with how many small seasonal changes there are, they end up feeling so much larger than some of their parts. I mean, the pixel art flower petals, I already mentioned it, but just them and the snowflakes are just fucking gorgeous to look at. Oh, and I forgot to mention, it only snows in the northern areas of the map. Honestly, the same can be said for Gen 5 as a whole, because limited 3D in the overworld and idle animations for every Pokemon sprite still looks so good all these years later. I mean, in Black and White 2, all the trainers have their own animated sprites before battle, which wasn't even the case in the first fully 3D games that preceded them, where the fucking champion was just a static PNG. The presentation in Black and White 2 is just perfect all across the board, and a massive part of that is the music. Now, yes, I'm already aware, here you go, here's the fucking lizard meme. You can't talk about Gen 5 without bringing it up. Are you happy? Can we move on now? Sick. Something I wasn't aware of though until making this video is that when you run in a route, there's a snare drum that gets added except for Route 1 where it's a tambourine, which is such an amazing detail because it blends into the mix and fades out so naturally that unless you listen for it, you never notice it during regular gameplay. And speaking of instruments, I'd be remiss not to mention the 11 different musicians you can encounter throughout the game that all add their respective instruments to the current area's theme music, which again, like the snare drum for the route music, all blend in so naturally, and I swear, every time you encounter one of the musicians, it's like the sun starts shining in the world's color again. But that's not all, because on top of each gym having its own unique theme other than Sharon's, even though everyone always says Alessa's theme, you gotta tell you to pronounce it Alessa. It's not Elisa, it's Alessa. I know, it's fucking stupid, but look at the way it's spelled. That's not Elisa, that's Alessa. Anyway, everyone always says Alessa's theme is the best. Well, they're fake fans, because Roxy's theme is the best. Not only is it just super catchy and perfectly matches her whole character, but as you defeat each member of her band, their respective instruments jump out of the mix, and once you defeat Roxy, the music stops entirely. The music as a whole in Black and White 2 is just so so fucking good. Verbeek City gets its battle theme. Asperta City, Black Tower, Route 19, Route 23, which sounds like some shit out of Gen 3. End's room theme on some Silent Hill shit. Join Avenue, Chorus's battle music, Cynthia's battle theme, which they already had a Gen 5 remix of in Andela Town, and they still made a new one exclusively with Pokemon World Tournament. And oh yeah, the Pokemon World Tournament. Just as a small, random, cute little side thing, Black and White 2 is a tournament where you can fight every past gym leader and champion with remixed versions of their original themes, on top of being able to battle Red and Blue. And oh my god, Blue's theme in the Black and White sound font is fucking amazing. I don't care if I get my ass handed to me every time I compete. The Pokemon tournament is fucking amazing. Please, please no. Oh my god, I got Whitney. Are you fucking me? I got Whitney. Iris's champion theme is some shit straight out of a fucking shoujo anime called Genki no Yarimoku Ramune. But my absolute favorite song in Black and White 2 has to be the Marine Tube. Entering it for the first time is one of my favorite gaming experiences. Technically, your first experience with the tube is when you first fly to Andela Town and you can't go through it because it's closed for cleaning. Foreshadowing is literary tech. Then when you get the 7th badge and finally step into it, the music slowly fades in, which is already a massive shock because while yes, there are songs in Pokemon that start off quiet and get louder, but other than the Marine Tube, there's not one I can think of until Gen 5 that starts off with just complete silence. And then once the song finally kicks in, it's just this absolutely gorgeous arrangement which complements the area so well, and it's just so fucking magical, and I love it so much. Did I mention this area is literally just an in-between area? Yeah, this gorgeous area with this amazing song and visuals is something you pass through to get to Humilau City. There's no wild Pokemon or trainer battles or any story interruptions. It's just this beautiful underwater area near the end of your adventure, and you get to just take in and observe fully undisturbed. And oh yeah, because as if this area's sole existence was enough of an indicator of how much Game Freak put into these games, the Pokemon you can see in the tube depends on the time of day, because of fucking course it does. On top of that, if you just run straight through the tube without stopping, you won't even get to the best part of the song, which is this part. Because technically, you really only need to ever be in the Marine Tube for less than 30 seconds. They made this amazing, gorgeous area with Pokemon that you can do depending on the time of day, and they wrote this gorgeous minute-long song that you won't even get halfway through if you just breeze through it, because they just cared that much about this game. Then there's what's at the end of the Marine Tube, which again, what a great fucking soundtrack Humilau City has. And this is probably super overdramatic because I adore these games, but Humilau City genuinely feels like the bridge between the old and the new. It was the last 2D Pokemon city we ever got, and going through it, there was this tangible sense of bittersweetness that permeated every second, knowing that I just experienced a culmination of 16 years worth of 2D Pokemon. And I'm not one of those people who thinks that the series died as soon as it went to 3D. I mean, for starters, I haven't played any of the Switch games because I've still never seen a reason to buy a Switch, and given the fucking price of the Switch 2, I still don't see one. But X and Y had some issues, but overall I enjoyed them, and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were great remakes. And as for Sun and Moon, you know, I played Sun once 9 years ago when it first came out, and all I remember is the memes about the rooster hat and being pissed at how late into the game Alola Ninetales was available. But I totally legally downloaded Ultra Moon to try it out at some point in the future, so maybe my opinion will change on that. But something about Humilau City is just such a great send-off for this series, with how upbeat the music and gym is. It feels like a proper celebration of the series up to this point, rather than like a funeral march, which, I mean, I know Pokemon wouldn't do, but just the atmosphere of the city and the music and the gym and the Marine Tube, and then going through Andela Town, which in my playthrough was super chill because it was the winter, and you know, it was just a moment of reflection where I was like, man, you know, I'm near the end of my journey. And then Humilau City, it's like, fuck yeah, you got here, man. It's a party. It's just, I love these games so much. But to me personally, the moment that felt like a proper start to this era of Pokemon is one that occurs after you beat the game. In the post-game, you unlock the side of the map the original games take place in, and I decided to go to the starting town from the first game to see if there's anything there. Which, by the way, absolutely phenomenal design, that the last town you visit in the sequels is the town you start at in the first game. And not only that, but it's entirely optional. There's no reason to actually go to New Haven Town other than just wanting to go there like I did. Obviously, there were some nice nostalgic moments seeing the early game areas from Black and White, but what really got me is when I finally got back to November Town. Hearing the music again definitely did things to me, but when I went into the main character's house from the first game, their mom is there, and she mistakes you for her kid and says, "Welcome home, dear," before correcting herself and then offering to heal your Pokemon. And not gonna lie, after not seeing these areas or hearing this music for 12 years again, and coming off that he was the last 2D Pokemon game ever made, and then just seeing Welcome Home Dear with the music and the swells, that shit made me cry, I'm not gonna lie. And as for small miscellaneous thoughts I have about the game, yes, I have the most generic white Tootsing because I caught the Growlithe and Riolu early on. Kyurem nearly just fucking kills you at one point in the story, which is probably one of my favorite parts about this game, and I really wish Superior had a better move pool in this game. I'm sure you're thinking, oh, but if you look at the moves it can learn, that's pretty sick, but most of those are TMs where you have to look up a guide for it and then go grab, most of which require HMs that you only get at a point in the story where you won't even need a good starter anymore. And I've just fucking benched my Superior at a certain point because it just wasn't helping me, and I wasn't gonna bother looking up where to get the TMs to make it somewhat useful when the rest of my team was pretty great. And as for my last thoughts, why the fuck are Glaceon and Leafeon locked behind the post game? Before my playthrough of any Pokemon game, I sit there and I go through the Pokedex of that game, and I was like, oh, Glaceon, that'll be cute. I like Glaceon. Only for my dumb ass to catch the Eevee in Castelia sewers and then box it thinking, oh, I'll find an Ice Stone or something to evolve it eventually. And then I beat the fucking game. I'm like, okay, where do I get Glaceon? And I look it up. Oh, it's this fucking rock that's only available in the post game. So now I just have this unleveled Glaceon that I got purely out of spite because I was like, well, I may as fucking well at this point. Sunken cost fallacy, you know? And also Leafeon. Like, I fucking love Leafeon. Leafeon is so goddamn cute, and it isn't even OP unless you have chlorophyll. So just give me a fucking Leafeon, alright? Like, Glaceon and Leafeon should not be this difficult to get. Which, of course, isn't a problem at all if you have a modded Lime Green New 3DS XL.